Hello, everyone. It's Mike Schooner with the 812 Living Group and host of the 812 and You blog. Hey, this Sunday night, we've got a very unique and special event that is taking place in Jeffersonville, Indiana. It is called Fright Night 3, the search for Fright Night 2, and maybe we'll get into exactly what that means. But I have the promoter of the event, Robert, with us. Robert, how are you this evening?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, Robert, search for Fright Night 3. For those of us who haven't heard of the event or previous installations, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, about 2 years ago, one of the guys in the band approached me to take pictures of his band. We were down at the falls. I mentioned the arena that exists in Jeffersonville. I said, "Hey, do y'all want to go take some pictures in the ring?" They were like, "Yeah," they were stoked because they're wrestling fans. So we get there, we taking pictures in there, and like the owner of the building, Tony, let them hold a title belt, and they started getting jazzed up, and they were throwing out ideas of doing a music video there or doing a concert or something there, and then they kind of snowballed it into let's run a wrestling event slash concert there. So I told them, well, I can get in touch with wrestlers because I've been taking pictures of professional wrestling for about 5 years now. So from there, I found some wrestlers that were willing to do it. They found three additional bands that were willing to do it, and we put on Fright Night One, if you want to refer to it as that. It did better than I thought it would. I had no hope because it's one of those things where there's so much wrestling in this area
Mhm.
that wrestling doesn't do that well unless you're WWE or what most people know, OVW. So people left the show saying that it was great, and I kind of vowed that I'd never wanted to do it again. Then the pandemic hit, which meant I didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
And now, since we're kind of in a loose space where stuff is happening again, um, the band Taking Lives approached me again, asking, "Hey, let's do this again." And I put it off, and then they kept asking, and I was like, "Okay, let me start getting in touch with people." So the name is a joke between me and some of the wrestlers that have worked around shows that I do, and as well as the first one. So we called it Search for Fright Night 2 since Fright Night 2 couldn't take place.
I got you.
Um, so that's like they threw around names of Fright Night, Electric Boogaloo, Fright Night, The Revenge of some, like anything that you could think of for any movie sequel or whatever. They
Uh-huh.
tossed out names for it. So we just kind of stuck with the Search for Fright Night 2. And we've
Yeah.
made jokes about actually making a Fright Night 2 just to continue with the continuality of it.
Right. Right. Well, so obviously there's going to be wrestling there, and I want to dive into that a little bit. But how does the music come into play? How much of the bands are we going to see? When will they come into play?
So the idea of the concept of how to structure it, I got it from there's shows that I have shot or attended that mix music and wrestling.
Mhm.
Um, One of the better shows that I've seen is that recently I shot and my kid wrestled on is a show in Minnesota called First Wrestling. They actually run their shows out of First Avenue of Purple Rain fame.
Hmm.
So in their shows they mix wrestling with music with burlesque, and it's more of a party atmosphere than a traditional wrestling show. So it's a standing room only crowd, hundreds of people, and you they would go a wrestling match, music or burlesque, then wrestling match, then music or burlesque, wrestling match, and so on, and throughout the night. So usually they book maybe 6 or 7 matches, and then there's two or three other acts that fit in between all of that. And I had seen pictures and videos of this and thought it was fascinating. So for me to go shoot my first one a couple weeks ago, it lived up to all the hype that I thought it was. And it's one of those things where they mix comedy wrestling with hard hitting wrestling with high flying wrestling. So any kind of wrestling that you've ever seen on TV or that you didn't even know you like, they're going to mix it into where you're going to enjoy it. Example of it is the first Fright Night we did. A couple of the guys that I had met through traveling and taking pictures currently are now signed to TV deals. Lee Moriarty is a wrestler that wrestles on the AEW that's on TNT every like Wednesday, Fridays, and they do a YouTube show. He just signed AEW and he was on my first show. A guy named Danhausen who has T-shirts and Hot Topic, which is um, usually unheard of for independent wrestlers, is currently signed to Ring of Honor. So, like a lot of guys that are starting to get known had been through this area and work shows and things like that. So it's just when the band wanted to do it, they found the bands that we made part of it and we made something happen. A good thing that happened. The first one was there was a band that they got from Cincinnati who happened to be friends with one of the wrestlers that I knew. And like as I'm pitching him the idea of doing the show, he's like, a buddy of mine said something about a show with wrestling and his band playing. He's like, "Is that you?" I was like, "Yeah." So he was even more stoked to come and be part of it because his buddy's band was going to be there.
Yeah.
And then he actually joined in with them to do vocals on a song that they did.
Hmm.
So it was one of those things where it showed a side of some of the wrestlers that a lot of the wrestling fans had never seen. So like they didn't know, oh, this guy gets down with a band, or some of the wrestlers didn't know how to take it. So like there's an Amish wrestler named Levi who isn't really hip to metal music, so he started dancing in the mosh pit to this metal music, and we have footage of it from the first show, and it's just stuff like that that's just unexpected.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we're going to have wrestling, we're going to have music, they're going to have a costume contest. We'll come back to that. Sounds like kind of nonstop entertainment. What about the wrestling matches? Any people that we should know or any big matchups we should be looking for?
Well, we're gonna host the second match in the states for this current tour from a wrestler that's from Australia. Her name is Charlie Evans. She was actually they just kind of opened up to allow international travel from Australia. They've had a lot stricter rules than what we have had. So she was approved to come here because a promoter in New Jersey set it up and worked everything out with her government to get her here because she had started interacting and dating a wrestler that's also going to be on the show from St. Louis, who's friends with us. And this Jersey promoter brought him in as a surprise the night before one of the events that they were participating in, just so they can meet in person for the first time.
Hmm.
And so she's staying with him for 3 months, which is how long her visa's for. And we're literally her second official match. She's wrestling my stepdaughter the night before in Chicago, and then we're coming back home to have this show. And she's wrestling a wrestler that's been wrestling around the Midwest area for about 15, 20 years named Aaron Williams. So that's neat. It's like I said, we're her second official wrestling match that she's going to have. Then my stepdaughter, local Louisville wrestler who's 16, currently a junior at Atherton. She's wrestling in an open challenge. She's been wrestling since she was 13. This year, she was just ranked for the first time in PWI, 500 top wrestlers in the world. She was number 441. There's just any type of wrestling that you're going to want to see, from the silly to the hard hitting. You're going to see, like I mentioned in the first one, the owner of the building, Tony, who's an internationally traveled wrestler, is also going to participate on the show as well. It's just anything you're looking for, you could find.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then it sounds like, this is an event for all ages. It sounds like you're going to have the costume party as well, costume contest. Tell us a little bit about that and some of the prizes that are going to be given away.
From what I've been told, that was a decision between my girlfriend and one of the band members. They got in touch with actually another promotion that runs in the area named Paradigm Pro, and they're going to give them season pass of tickets for the year of events that they're going to do, as well as I believe there is candy, things like that they're going to give. So it's just something that they worked on to help promote that wrestling exists outside of WWE, AEW, or OVW, things like that. There's so many events that take place in the arena that we're running at that I think people don't realize are happening. There's practically wrestling in there every week.
Yeah.
Um, I believe there's a show there next Thursday. There's a company called IWA that's been running in this area off and on for probably better part of almost 30 years,
Mhm.
and not many people are aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah. The arena is still a hidden gem in Jeffersonville. A lot of people don't realize, world famous wrestlers like John Cena and Dave Batista, those guys have come through this area to wrestle. And you guys are bringing us the next future stars of worldwide wrestling. Tell us about the details of the show, date, time, any other things that we need to know for people who plan to attend.
The show is on the 24th, which is this coming Sunday. I'm going to open doors at about 6:45. We're going to kick off right with a match at 7:30. Then probably go into some music and then more matches and then more music and more matches. Um, the cost is $15 general admission. It's at the arena in Jeffersonville, Indiana, which is at 1416 Spring Street. It's literally diagonal from the Clark Memorial Hospital. So it's there. It's tucked away there, but you can find it.
Yeah, yeah. This Sunday night, doors open at 6:45. First bell rings at 7:30. Wrestling, music, costume contest. Guys, if you want nonstop entertainment, this is the place to be on Sunday evening. We'll put links to tickets and other information in our blog post. Robert, best of luck to you, and thanks for joining us tonight.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hey, if you'd like to have updates on Southern Indiana events, news, and real estate information you can use delivered directly to your email inbox, visit us at 812living.com/blog. That's 812living.com/blog, and sign up for alerts.